My girlfriend said, "Give me one reason to stay with you instead." I replied, "Okay." "We're done." Then I paid my half, left, saved the cabin hold alert, and removed her from travel card. A ride receipt showed Eldrick Shaw Glass Studio. Next morning I grabbed my tools and found a sponsor note. The email subject line was the first punch. One reason, tonight. It sat at the top of Seraphine's laptop screen like it owned the room. I was only borrowing her laptop to print a seating chart. The printer in my duplex was still boxed up after the water damage. I told myself I should not stare, but my eyes locked on the sender name. Eldrick Shaw. I am 39, and I work aircraft maintenance at Drake Field in Fayetteville. I spend my days checking panels, testing systems, and making sure nothing fails in the air. When I do a pre-flight check, I do not argue with a warning light. I respect it before it becomes a disaster. Seraphine was 38, and she ran fundraising for a small arts nonprofit in Prairie Grove. Her job lived on rules, donor reports, and clean paperwork. She had a big gala coming up, and she was stressed in that tight jaw way. I thought that stress was the whole story. For the last 2 months, I had been staying at her little bungalow most nights. My duplex in Farmington had a busted pipe and mold cleanup, so it was not safe yet. Her house smelled like rosemary oil and fresh laundry sheets. Every morning she tapped a spoon against her mug twice and said, "We got this." I believed her. I helped with the gala list, hauled folding tables, and fixed her porch light. I told myself teamwork looks different in busy seasons. But a mini hook kept creeping in. Teamwork is not one person carrying everything. That afternoon, she said we should go to dinner to reset. She chose a quiet place off Dixon Street with dim lamps and cloth napkins. She smiled at the host like everything was fine. Then she slid her phone face down and sighed. I tried to keep it light. I asked about the gala auction items and her sponsor calls. She nodded and gave short answers like her mind was somewhere else. Then she finally looked at me and said it. "My ex wants me back. Give me one reason to stay with you instead," she said. Her voice was calm, like she was reading a prompt. I felt heat rise behind my ears, but I kept my hands flat on the table. A mini hook hit hard. The moment someone makes you compete, you already lost. That was confrontation 1. I asked, "Can you give me one to stay with you?" She blinked like I spoke the wrong language. She said, "That's not the question." I stared at the water glass and listened to the ice click. In my head, I heard hangar noise and the steady rule of my work. A pre-flight check is not about pleasing someone. It is about safety. Seraphine leaned back and watched me like I was a test she expected to pass. She said, "Eldrick is exciting. He understands my life. He can support my goals." She said support like it was a currency. I realized she was pricing me at dinner. I did not argue. I asked the server for the check and said it as calmly as I could. When it came, I paid my half, put the receipt in my wallet, and stood up. A mini hook followed me out. Self-respect is sometimes just leaving the table. Outside, the air was cold and smelled like wet brick. My phone buzzed before I even reached my truck. Seraphine texted, "Don't do this. Come back inside. You're being dramatic." I did not respond. Here is advice number 1, simple and practical. If someone compares you to an ex and demands a reason, do not perform. Pay your share, stay polite, and leave clean. A clean exit keeps your dignity intact. I drove to the one place that still felt like mine, the hangar. It was late, but the side door code still worked, and the lights hummed overhead. Jet fuel and cold metal have a way of clearing your head. I sat on a tool chest and stared at the concrete floor. Then the bank alert hit. Card not present, charge 412.00 Ozark Ridge cabin hold. The card was mine, the travel card we used for gala errands and weekend trips. Money proof does not ask permission to be believed. My chest went hollow. She was already spending like she already chose. A mini hook turned into a certainty. The dinner was not a question, it was a notice. I took a screenshot of the alert and saved it. I texted her one line. "Do not use my card again." She replied fast. "It's for the gala. Stop acting like a victim." Her words were sharp, but her tone was still controlled. The next morning, Seraphine called while I was under the wing of a training plane. My hands were cold through my gloves. She said, Are you done with your little walkout now? That was confrontation too beginning to form. I pushed once calmly. I said, "Why is Eldrick emailing you and why did you charge a cabin hold to my card?" She flipped the switch right on time. She snapped, "Because you are stable and boring and you question everything." She kept going. "You're lucky I even consider staying with you. I need a partner who helps, not one who slows me down." There it was, clear as a warning light. A mini hook landed. When someone insults your calm, they want your control. I did not raise my voice. I said, "Okay, we're done." She laughed once and said, "You'll come back, you always do." Then she hung up on me. I drove to the temporary room I had rented behind a feed store in Greenland. It was a narrow upstairs space with a space heater and a window that rattled. It smelled like hay dust and old coffee. It was not home, but it was quiet. That evening, I opened the shared ride-share account on my phone to remove my card. Seraphine used it for nonprofit errands, so we kept it shared for convenience. I did not dig through her life for thrills. I just needed to cut off access. A recent receipt sat at the top of the trip history. Pick up, Dixon Street. Drop off, Eldrick Shaw Glass Studio in Siloam Springs. Time, 27 minutes after I left dinner. Location, proof arrived like a cold wave. I stared at the screen until my eyes watered. She did not go home to think. She went straight to him. A mini hook hit me. If the ride is already booked, the choice was made before the dinner started. I went back to Seraphine's bungalow the next morning while she was at work. Not to fight and not to plead. I needed my clothes, my tools, and my paperwork. A pre-flight check is also knowing what you can carry and what you cannot. Her house felt different when I stopped pretending it was ours. The rosemary smell was too strong, like it was trying to cover something. A stack of gala folders sat on the dining table, neatly clipped. My name was not on any of them. In one folder, I saw a document with a bold header, presenting sponsor agreement. It was signed by Eldrick Shaw and signed by Seraphine Dole. At the bottom, in Seraphine's handwriting, it said, "Thank you for giving us another chance." That was the killer receipt. A signed document with a personal promise tucked inside it. It was not a rumor or a feeling. It was ink. My hands went steady in a way that surprised me. I took one photo of the page, then another of both signatures. I put the folder back exactly where it was. Here is advice number 2, do not steal proof, copy it and leave it. I packed my things in 2 loads. Work boots, duffels, my toolbox, my flight line badge. I left gifts and shared decor alone. I also removed Seraphine from the shared ride-share account and the travel card as an authorized user. I left one note on her counter, plain and short. Do not contact me except about my property. Return my spare key to the feed store office. No insults, no speeches. A mini hook stayed in my mind. Short words are harder to twist. Seraphine did not respect the boundary. She sent a flood of messages from different numbers, then emails, then a long voicemail. She called me ungrateful, then called me cold, then called me weak. I saved everything and answered nothing. 2 days later, she appeared at my doorstep. It was raining and her hair was stuck to her cheeks. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. The sight of her would have pulled me back months ago. She said, "Please, I didn't mean it. I was scared." I opened the door enough to stand in it, not enough to invite her in. I said, "Say what you meant then." She swallowed and said, "I didn't think you'd leave." I listened once because I am not cruel. Then I said, "I heard you at dinner. I saw the ride receipt. I saw the sponsor agreement." Her face went pale and her crying changed into anger for half a second. A mini hook hit. Tears can be a tool when words stop working. Seraphine tried to regain control right there on my doormat. She said, "You invaded my privacy." I said, "It was a shared account and your folder was on your table." She said, "Eldrick was only helping the nonprofit." I said, "Your note said another chance." She backed up and wiped her face like she could wipe the facts away. She said, "Fine, I was testing you." That word test felt uglier than any insult. A pre-flight check does not include humiliating the person you claim to love. A week later, the fallout spread beyond us. Seraphine's nonprofit board asked questions about the sponsor agreement. Someone noticed the personal note, and they asked why she did not disclose the relationship history. Seraphine tried to claim it was harmless and that I was unstable. I did not want revenge, but I needed my name clean. So I sent the board the photo of the signed agreement and the ride share receipt. I wrote one line: "I am not involved and my card was used without my consent." Then I stepped back. Here is advice number 3. If someone drags your name into their mess, defend your name with facts. Do not add insults or guesses. Facts end arguments faster. Eldrick betrayed Seraphine the moment consequences arrived. He told the board he thought everything was disclosed. He said the personal note was her idea, and he was only being polite. Then he withdrew the sponsorship to protect his studio image. Without the sponsorship, Seraphine's gala budget took a hit. The board put her on leave while they reviewed donor ethics and disclosure rules. Volunteers whispered, and her coworkers stopped making eye contact. Social shame does not need yelling, it just needs distance. Seraphine demanded a formal meeting to clear the record. My attorney, Orrin Pritch, agreed to attend with me. He was older, calm, and spoke like a man who never wastes words. He set the meeting at a small mediation room near the Washington County Courthouse. The room smelled like copier toner and stale mints. A water pitcher sat untouched in the middle of the table. Seraphine walked in with dry eyes and a stiff smile. Her calm was back like armor. This was confrontation 3, the final one, and it happened after proof was on the table. First she denied. "I never demanded you compete. You made that up." Then she minimized. "Even if I said it badly, it was just a conversation at dinner." Then she partially admitted, "Okay, I brought up Eldrick, but it was to see if you cared." Then she made the emotional move right on cue. She said, "I was drowning. The gala is my career. I needed certainty and you felt unsure." Her voice broke and she said, "I thought if you fought for me, I would feel safe." I said, "I am not a contest and I am not a speech you collect." Orrin kept it short. He confirmed my property list, confirmed no contact terms, and confirmed the unauthorized charge would be disputed. Seraphine stared at the table like the table betrayed her. Then she whispered, "So that's it." I stood up and said, "That's it." Outside, the courthouse hallway echoed with footsteps. I felt tired, but I also felt clean, like a system finally shut down safely. A mini hook settled in me. Peace is a decision you keep making. 2 months later, my duplex was repaired, and I moved back in alone. I took a transfer offer to a larger maintenance crew in Greenville, South Carolina. I got promoted to lead on night inspections, because I do not miss details when it matters. A pre-flight check taught me one thing: you do not ignore the first warning. Seraphine tried once more, months later. Not a visit, not a call, just a letter left with my old neighbor. It said she was sorry and she missed me and she finally understood. I read it, folded it, and put it away without replying. On a warm night in Greenville, I ate dinner on a rooftop patio with someone new. She was steady, kind, and she never mentioned exes like weapons. The city lights looked soft from up there, like they were not in a hurry. I realized I had stopped bracing for the next test. Some people think love is a competition. I think love is respect that shows up when nobody is watching. If I ever doubt again, I will do a pre-flight check on the words and the actions, because I am not staying where I have to earn basic dignity. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.